With the Rural Artist Development Program, it is a program of the Arts and Business Council of Greater Nashville and funded with funding from the Tennessee Arts Commission. A little bit about Arts and Business Council. We're a 501c3 nonprofit arts service organization that leverages and unites the unique resources of the arts and business communities to create a thriving creative culture in Nashville and beyond. And we do this by creating mutually beneficial partnerships between the arts and the business communities, by providing direct services, key opportunities, and education to the creative community to help them master the business of art, which is what we're going to talk a lot about tonight. And then we inspire workplace creativity in businesses to demonstrate the impact of the arts through tangible benefits and to develop lifelong arts participants and supporters. And I introduced our executive director, Jill McMillan-Palm, and our program coordinator, Annie Brocious. I'm Jonathan Harvey, the director of programs. And then not only I called tonight, but a very important person as part of our organization is Victoria Banks, who is the attorney manager for our VLPA program, which stands for the Volunteer Lawyers and Professionals for the Arts. VLPA, for short, is a statewide legal services program that provides pro bono legal and professional services to artists and arts organizations that are income qualified and that reside in the state of Tennessee. So if you're an artist of any discipline and you have a legal matter related to your art or to your creative output, you can reach out to us on our website, abcnashville.org/VLPA, and you can reach out for assistance. We do legal clinics on a regular basis. We have attorneys, accountants, and other professionals that volunteer on a regular basis to help folks with different business issues. So that's a really important program. It is statewide, and I always want to call it out when I'm talking about the work that we do. Today, we're going to talk about Periscope Rural Artist Development. I'm going to call it Periscope RAD for short. And we're going to talk a little bit about what this program is. We're going to talk about who can apply for the program. We're going to talk about the application timeline and process, what you should expect in the Periscope RAD program, a little bit more about participation, and then we will open it up for Q&A at the end. And I'll turn off my slides and we can just have a conversation and answer any questions you may have. All right, so what is Periscope Rural Artist Development? It is an online intensive curriculum-based artist entrepreneur training program. So it is offered through Zoom sessions like this. We also use a platform called Google Classroom. And so that helps us deliver all the content to folks. It lives online, so you can have access to it at any time of the day or night. But then we do have regular meeting times. It's intensive because it does take a lot of work, and it's curriculum based because there is a core curriculum that we follow throughout the entire program. It begins with 8 weeks of training, followed by 6 months of mentorship. And the goal is to empower working artists living in the rural Tennessee counties to see their creative vision through an entrepreneurial lens. So really developing those small business skills to understand the underlying mechanisms of business that can help you make a living from your art. Who can apply? You must be a resident of Tennessee living in a rural county. This is focused on not the major metropolitan areas, but the rest of Tennessee, which is the bulk of the state. And you must be a working artist, and that means that you are making work in any discipline, although it does not have to be your full-time job or your full-time profession at this time. We have a lot of teaching artists that will go through the program. We have a lot of folks who may be an artist, but they may be trying to transition to full-time or trying to get their art business off the ground, but they're not doing it yet. You're definitely qualified. We want to help people make that jump, make that leap. And then we ask that people not currently be enrolled in a degree granting program. All right. So the application process for Periscope is online as well. And it begins with the Periscope RAD online application form, which is linked on our website. And I'll share that link a little bit later on. But you complete that application form. It asks you a lot of questions about your creative practice, what kind of business you want to make out of that, how you kind of envision that being, what goals you have for your creative practice, things like that. And then once you complete and submit that application form, you will submit a resume or a CV up to 3 pages max. It's got to be in Word or PDF format. And then you'll submit work samples based on your artwork. So it could be audio or video samples if you're a filmmaker or a musician. It can be digital images if you're a visual artist. It could be a manuscript if you're a literary artist or a poet or an author. Depending on your discipline, you will submit whatever is appropriate. Some people do end up submitting maybe some digital images and maybe a writing sample because they're combining the two for their business. But we don't require you to submit all of those things, just what's relevant to your creative practice and the business that you're trying to start or trying to grow. And then if you do submit things, you can submit links to like an online video, like a YouTube link or a Vimeo link or anything like that. If you do, we just ask that you submit instructions on how we can view that, make sure that that's easy and accessible so that the reviewers will have easy access to that. And then speaking of the reviewers, the application process, once we close our applications, the applications are reviewed by panelists that evaluate them on basically these 4 different criteria. So the first is quality and creative vision. So looking at the artwork to make sure that it is of the quality that could be successful in the sort of the business world that you're proposing. It's not necessarily oh, this is high art, this is low art, this is fine art, this is craft, this is, it's not sort of judging that sort of historic artistic excellence idea as much as it's judging sort of, is the quality of this work in line with sort of what they're trying to do. And then that goes to motivation and need. So is this person motivated? Are they making work? Are they actively doing what they want to do? And then the need, do they, will this program help them? Is there a need in the marketplace for what they're offering? Diversity and representation, we're very cognizant of trying to have the most diverse class that represents the entirety of the state of Tennessee in this program. And then the final criteria is just the overall impression of the application, the work samples, everything, sort of that overall impression of everything. So they score all the applications based on those criteria. And then we source those panelists we have Tennessee art sector leaders, curators, artists. And when I say artists, I mean every discipline. So for music and theater or literary arts or what the case may be, we will have panelists to look at those as well. And then we also have program and community partners that sit on those review panels. So that's how they're judging the applications to be able to select the cohort. And then the exciting thing I can tell you is about the program costs. Right now, there is no application fee for this program, and there is no cost to participating artists, which is made possible by funding from the Tennessee Arts Commission. So there's no, we do another program similar to this that's in person and local to Nashville only. And that program has like a $250 tuition fee, if you will. But this program being offered statewide at no cost to participating artists, thanks to the Tennessee Arts Commission. And generally speaking, the program is valued at about $1,750 per artist. That's about the value of the training, the mentorship, all the different components of the program comes out to about $1,750 per artist. All right. So if you apply for Periscope and for Periscope Rad and you're accepted into the program, what you're going to experience is going to be training, exchange, and mentorship. The training is an 8-week online training that sort of is a mix of understanding the big picture, business modeling, the underlying sort of business aspects of selling, making your work, getting it to customers, knowing where your customers are, how to reach them, all those sorts of things. And then functional business practices of how do you actually do that? How do you put all of that work into practice in the business that you're trying to start? One great thing about Periscope that I think is different from a lot of training programs is while we provide a lot of information, it's not just theoretical. You are applying this to your business, to your creative practice as you go through the program and through the mentorship. So it is truly being applied as you're learning it, as it's happening. And it does focus on both that big picture understanding of what you're doing and also the functional everyday business practices that you need to have in place. And then as part of the training, one of the most valuable aspects of Periscope Rad is exchange. So each session, there's small group work with peers and group leaders. So we have a cohort of about 25 artists is what we're recruiting. And then we will subdivide that group into small groups of 5 artists. And then we will place a group leader, a arts leader that will walk through the program with that group of 5 artists. And you will be in that group for the first 7 weeks of training. And that will be the group that you will work together with to not only see how you're implementing the program into your practice, but also how they're doing it. That's the place that you will kind of work through the curriculum and how do you translate entrepreneurial principles into artistic practice and a creative practice and creative entrepreneurship. And then mentorship. So once you complete the 8 weeks of training, you move into a 6-month one-on-one mentorship with a high caliber business mentor that you will meet them at the end of the 8 weeks of training, and you will work with them for 6 months following that. And that's really where the rubber meets the road, where you take the principles that you learned during the training and you continue to apply them, to learn from them, to make changes and to grow your creative business over that time, and really sort of absorb all that information and then process it and be able to put it into practice to make a living from your creativity and your artistic practice. Right. So to give you a sense of a typical day, so Periscope Rad meets on Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. We're doing that because we wanted to make this accessible to people throughout the state, especially teaching artists who might be in the classroom during the week, or others who might be trying to get their creative practice off the ground, but maybe they're working a day job during the week as well. So it was very based on all the feedback that we've gotten and the research that we've done, we decided to put this on Saturday mornings, and it will be each Saturday. The session will begin at 9 a.m. and from about 9 to 10:30, the session will be led by an entrepreneurial leader delivering a curriculum that is cumulative and comprehensive, that's going to build on itself. So what you learn in week 1 will be applicable to week 3. What you learn in week 5 is going to reframe what you learned in week 3 and week 1. And through the whole program, you're going to be learning on top of learning, and that's going to build on itself. And even after you finish the program, for the months during mentorship, you're going to continue to build on what you learn in that curriculum portion. A lot of that happens from the 10:30 to noon time, which is the breakout sessions. And that's where you meet with that small group. You have your arts leader that facilitates that conversation. That's where you'll talk about the homework that you work on sort of in between each session, which I say homework, but that's really the way that you're thinking about applying what you're learning to your business. We have activities and materials that help you walk through that implementation. So that's what you're going to be working with your small group on. And then at noon each day, we will shift into a lunch and learn. And so the great thing about the lunch and learn is from the noon to 1 o'clock hour, we bring in different arts leaders, business professionals, lots of different folks, and they will talk about special topics that augment the curriculum and augment what you're learning. And some of that will be very practical, skills-based training. Some of that might be sort of looking at, like, what does it mean specifically to try to be an artist entrepreneur in a smaller community versus a larger community, and sort of taking the curriculum and contextualizing it for communities throughout the state of Tennessee, and even the different regions of Tennessee. Different communities are all very different. So the Lunch and Learn is a great place where we're able to cater the curriculum to the cohort, to the program, and really delve in deep into some special topics. And then just generally the timeline, sort of where we are, where we're going in this timeline. So January 3rd is when we opened up the applications, started sending out invitations for this cohort. And then January 24th, that is today, we're doing an info session now, probably going to do one more info session before the deadline, which is February 10th at noon. Applications are due for this program. And then once we receive applications, those applications will go out to the review committees. They'll give us their feedback. And then around the week of the February 28th, that first week of March, we will notify the artists that have been selected or have not been selected for this year's cohort. And then about a month later, on March 26th, that first Saturday of the training begins. And then we will meet for 8 weeks through May 14th, each Saturday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then on that final Saturday, you'll either be introduced to your mentor via Zoom meeting or via email or phone call or however works best, but we will introduce you to a mentor who will then work with you May through October to help you implement what you've learned in the program. And then just a word on participation. It's really important for this program to be the best quality it can be. It's built on a collaborative, supportive environment because not only do you need to be present to be able to participate in the curriculum and the lunch and learns, but also those group discussions are really important to building those relationships and to really applying what you learn. So we ask that if you apply for the program and you're accepted into the program, that you commit to participate fully, because there is someone probably waiting that might not have been able to get into this year's cohort. And so if you're not able to participate fully, we ask that you commit that spot to someone else. So just pay attention to the program dates on our website. Look at the times, that sort of 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturdays. Make sure that you feel like you can really participate fully. We do record all the sessions for the instruction from 9 a.m. to 10:30, and then the instruction for the lunch and learn from noon to 1. Both of those are recorded, but we don't record the group sessions. So you do have access to some of that if you do have to miss a particular day, but you won't necessarily get that group interaction that day. And so pay attention to those dates and just recognize that we ask everyone to commit to participate as fully as possible. We definitely want you all to apply, want you all to be able to participate. We want you to get the most that you can out of the program. Right. Well, that is it. That is my presentation. And now we're going to kind of go into the Q&A. My email is up here. It's jharwelldye@abcnashville.org. I've also got the link, abcnashville.org/RAD, for the webpage on our site that you can find out more information where you. So we'll also send these slides out to everyone later, so you'll have this information. But I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that we can look in gallery mode, and then everyone can ask the questions that they have. So I'm going to stop doing that, and then we'll jump into the Q&A. All right.
Jonathan, I thought it would be really nice if our participants could introduce themselves and tell us what county that they are in right now, since this is across the state. I thought maybe I would say your name and then you could just speak up, say kind of what your artistic endeavor is, and then that kind of gives us an idea as well. So I see Paige Joyner with us. Could I get you to unmute and say hi and say a little bit about your work?
There we go. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Paige Joyner. I am in Alamo, Tennessee, Crockett County, about 30 minutes from Jackson, hour and a half from Memphis or so, depending. I'm kind of between Memphis and Nashville, West Tennessee. I'm a painter, visual artist. I do set design. I'm trying to major more on painting. I do a lot of portraiture, but I'm interested in being able to go full time and make enough money to quit the day job. So that's my goal.
That's it.
Absolutely.
I do a little
Thanks so
teaching,
much, Paige.
but
I see Sarah Turner.
Hi. I'm Sarah and I live in Marion County. I mostly do digital art and illustration. So it would be really cool to sort of hone my skills with this if I could. I think that would be
Well,
exciting.
thanks for joining us, Sarah. I see Marty. Marty, you're on mute. It'll look like a microphone. Okay, Marty, while you're looking for that, I'm going to move on and then we'll come back. Christy Dunn.
Hey there. I'm a painter up in the upper northeast corner of Tennessee, and I'm really, really grateful for this opportunity.
Well, we're glad to have you with us tonight. And then I have Emily. Did I already do Emily?
Oh, hello.
Hi, Emily.
I am from Albine County and I mostly do digital art and traditional. I want to be a graphic designer or a illustrator for children's books or graphic novels.
That's fantastic. Thanks for coming in. And I have Gail. She may have stepped away for a moment.
Oh, I think Marty's unmuted now.
Marty, are you with us?
Yes, I am. I am from Union County, which is north of Knoxville, south of the Cumberland Gap. I work with three-dimensional sculptures using natural elements, pine needles and different sculptures, whatever I can find outside. And just enjoy the process.
Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Gail Stryker, are you with us? Well, if you show up, just raise your hand. I'm going to move on to Barbara Miller. Barbara says she doesn't have a microphone or camera. She's a painter in oils, acrylics, and watercolors. She said something else. Let me get in here. Oh, she also does miniatures and jewelry and polymer clay. My goodness, you do everything. I'm in Northeast Tennessee in a little town called, I'm going to mess this up, Mosheim, about halfway between Knoxville and Bristol. So, well, thank you, Barbara. And then Gail, are you with us? I thought I saw her mute off, so. Okay, I'll move forward to Karis. Did I say your name right? Pause, awkward
Hello?
pause. Hi, Karis.
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
Sorry, one sec. Hi.
Yes.
I'm Karis Fizel. I'm from Pikeville, Tennessee. I've been a self-taught artist for about 7 years now. I'm trying to get my business off the ground. I use it to help nonprofit organizations. So right now I'm helping support a nonprofit that houses women who have survived human trafficking, and I would like to continue doing that throughout my life. And I also have been an art teacher since 2015, and I have really enjoyed that. But yeah, I'm just I live in the middle of nowhere, and I'd like to connect with other artists.
Absolutely. It looks like someone else just joined us. It looks like Christy Teasley. if you're here, will you go on and unmute yourself and just say where you're from, what county, and what you do?
Yes, I apologize for my late arrival. I'm jumping in from another Zoom. I am in Grundy County, and I'm sorry, what was the other thing I was supposed to tell you?
A little bit about your work. What do you do?
Okay. My work is twofold. My studio practice is primarily textiles, but I also help run a workshop program. So I've got kind of two different hats.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining us. We just went over some slides, but we've just started up the Q&A section. Jonathan led us through quite a few details. And I'm wondering, Jonathan, when you have had other students kind of go through this program, the end result, what do you see come out of this?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the biggest thing that we find for people who are able to, who really dig into the program and do the work and work on their business, is that for the first time, they feel like they have permission to make a living from their work. And that's a big thing that we hear from artists, is that, you know, they can feel like, you know, like this concern about selling out or not, you know, connected or not making work that they're really passionate about in order to make money. And this gives artists the tools to not only make a living, but also be making the work that they do want to make, understanding who the customer for that work is versus sort of not being able to connect what they want to make with the people that want to buy it.
Thank you, Jonathan. I'm going to try one more time. Gail, are you with us? She may not have a microphone access. But Gail, if you can hear us, I'd love for you to put just a little bit about yourself in the chat. So I'm sure I'm not the only one with questions. What about everyone else?
Yeah, feel free to unmute yourself and just ask questions. And we'll do our best to answer them.
Has anyone looked at the application yet? Do you have any questions about the application?
How about this? I'm going to ask a question, see if that sparks something. So, who now, after hearing the presentation and maybe reading the website and registering for this, who thinks that they want to apply, and who is on the, like, who wants to apply for sure and who's on the fence about it? And you can throw that in the chat. You can unmute yourself and talk about it, but I'm curious like where you're at, kind of where we've gotten. And I see Gail is sharing in the chat.
Yes, yes. She's a potter and she's in Greene County. And Gail, we're so glad you're here. Thank you for chatting with us in the chat. And of course, if you don't feel like speaking up, but you have a question, I'm sure we'll catch it in the chat as well.
I would like to just say that you covered everything I had written on my list. The things that I wanted to get from this program, and I'm definitely going to apply.
Fantastic.
Awesome. Well, Marty, we're glad to hear that.
Thank you. Thank you for all the good information. It was great.
And Barbara said the Tennessee Spring Craft Fair is May 6th through 8th.
Oh, yes.
Does that come into the schedule for this?
Yeah, because this would go through the 14th. So we do need to look at that.
Okay. So for those participating in that, could we maybe work something out around there?
Yeah, we can figure that out. We can certainly, we can fix that. Don't worry.
Okay, great. Because I mean, I'll be there. So that is a great question. Thank you for bringing that up.
Question. That's what I was going to ask. If you know you already have one conflict.
Yeah. If you know you have a conflict, just put that in your application materials and let us know that. And then that way we can kind of judge where, if there are conflicts across the board on other things, then we can make adjustments based on that. But yeah, absolutely still apply. If you know that you're going to miss something, just let us know that. And then that'll help us to be able to figure out workarounds around that.
Yeah.
It looks like we have an alum testimonial here, which I'm just going to read out because I can't see if everyone can read this or not. It says, Periscope provided me with community. As a business owner and as an entrepreneur, the road can feel real lonely. I'm sorry, it says very lonely. I'm just making words up now. I apologize. Being surrounded by like-minded individuals who needed the same support that I needed, who were going through similar things, that was an encouragement in and of itself. That's Mimi McCarley, class of 2021. I think that's pretty cool. And Sarah has a question. Are meetings only had on Saturdays?
Sarah, yeah, right now the schedule is for meetings to be on Saturdays only from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Now we may do some changes to that if we have a lot of conflicts. We are going to record sessions, so there will be availability to watch some of that. But the main meeting, the main touch point of the week will be on those Saturday mornings, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m.
You mentioned homework. What kind of homework? I mean, I'm looking for some accountability.
Yes. Yeah.
Time
Well,
is an issue, you know.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I guess the way that we walk through the program is the curriculum. You're learning you're getting this curriculum on entrepreneurship that's really helping to understand sort of what your business model really is and what that looks like, and a way to sort of visualize that. And then, but that's different for everyone, right? Like there's the concept of it, and then for what you're doing, portraits, right, Paige? Is that right? Portraiture. So for you, your supplies, your partnerships, your customers, the way you reach your customers, your pricing, all of that's different than a potter, for example. So you're taking what you're learning in the curriculum, and the homework is designed to help you sort of take that and apply it to your actual business. So it's homework, but what it's really doing is helping you translate that to your real world situation.
And the presentation of earlier this evening, will that also be available online?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
And I see a hand raised.
Yeah, Gail's got her hand raised. Gail. Oh, Gail, we can't hear you, unfortunately. You can put it in the chat though. If you put a question in the chat, we can answer it that way.
We see you, we just can't hear you.
I know, I can tell that you're saying something. We got it. Okay, you live in your studio and you're looking forward to some direction. Yes, yes, we would love to help.
I think a lot of artists, the last 2 years in particular, have been living in their studios. So, and business is going to look a little differently with this COVID. So I think this is a great opportunity to be with a group and to talk this out, and as you're all working on your own personal business moving forward.
So I'm going to ask a question to the group, Krishna, if that's okay. I am curious if anybody would like to share a pain point that they have in terms of getting to where they want to in their creative business and being able to make a living from what you're making, and like, is there a thing that you're like, a hurdle that you're trying to overcome, or something you're struggling with that you could share with the group? And maybe we could talk about that in the context of what Periscope might be able to help with.
The word medical insurance just keeps popping in my head. My husband is a minister, and you know, that's pretty much like being self-employed. You have to pay for your own insurance, which is one reason I got the day job, was for medical insurance. So that will be our, I guess what you were calling pain point, is when I quit and give that up, and
Mm.
just being able to afford that again.
Yeah, that's a great point, Paige. And my wife is a minister as well, so I know that pain point very well. But one of the things that I will say is that's part of when you're thinking about setting goals, especially that's a big part of Periscope is not just setting goals, but figuring out the path to get there. That's the kind of hurdle that a lot of artists are dealing with, right? Like most people have that day job so they can get access to the health insurance that they're going to need, or that regular paycheck that they are able to use to buy the supplies to make their work, or whatever the case may be. So that's a big part of it, is being able to set a plan and figure out like what do you need to put in place so that you can be protected when you do leave the day job, make this full time. How are you going to have access to that? We do talk about that. There's resources that we can talk about too in the program and around health insurance, but a lot of it is based on that sort of goal setting and planning and how you can get there and putting in those steps in place. And I see Gail just said, I need to get my kills running again, marketing in a small community. Absolutely. And that's a big part of it, right? So one of the things when you're talking about business models, one of the things they talk about are what are the resources you need? Well, if you're a potter, you need to be able to fire your work. I mean, that's simple and easy to understand. And so figuring out but it may be that you need to sell work to be able to fix it, and you've got to fix it to sell the work. So figuring out ways to solve that, Periscope can help you with, and the how do you develop those resources if you don't have necessarily the money to invest to repair them at this time. So that's something that we definitely talk about, and something that in a small group environment, you would talk to people about. And it might be, hey, I know someone who can help, or whatever the case may be. Those small groups are where a lot of the problem solving like that happens. All right, Barbara said, my sales have gone up this past year. Congratulations. That's amazing. But I have concentrated more on miniatures and jewelry, which takes a lot of productivity to match selling a larger painting, which is few and far between. Ah, yes. So what you've got is you've got a market for something that takes a lot, takes a lot of time, a lot of your productivity. So you've got to figure out the price point that's going to help you balance that. That's a lot about pricing, and because your time, if you spend an hour making a miniature, that's an hour you can't paint, and vice versa. So looking at how do you set your price points and figure out your price points and your customer base to be able to give you the time that you need to be able to paint as well. So figuring out what you need to set that at to be able to do that. So that's something Periscope talks about too. All right, Sarah Turner said, along with honing my skills, I'm interested primarily in making connections with other digital artists and networking, which is difficult. Sarah, yes, it is absolutely difficult. And you know what? I live right in Nashville, and it's difficult for us because we've been home most of the last couple of years. And so I feel your pain on that one for sure. But that's one great thing about the small groups is they are a big networking tool and a community builder. People that have been in Periscope, they're on text threads and meetups with people that they were in their small group 2-3 years later. And they're people that they call and say, hey, I'm trying to figure this out. Can you help? And those sorts of relationships really create a support network. And that's a big part of Periscope, is that support network.
So are the small groups made up of like us plus you said a leader? Is that leader a business mentor or an artist type, or
They are an artist type who has business expertise and experience. But the big thing about the group leader, we put an arts person, an arts leader in that role, so they can help translate entrepreneurial things into the language of an artist. Because you talk to a business person, sometimes that doesn't necessarily make sense, and vice versa to them. They're talking to an artist, but there are people that have that skill set or have experience on both sides, and that's who we try to put in that position, and they help you translate that. So that's really the role of the group leader, is to make sure that that is happening in real time. All right. Well, I don't see any other questions, but feel free. If you have another question, feel free to unmute or throw it in the chat. I see Barbara said Adobe Air is great for digital artists. Absolutely. I use Procreate on an iPad, do a lot of digital illustration there. I got that like at the beginning of 2021, and I was shocked how good it was. I was really shocked how it was. Probably shouldn't have been. What precautions will be taken for COVID during the in-person meeting? So Sarah, all the curriculum is going to be online for this program, but if we do meet in person, right now what we're doing, and this is all subject to change, but right now when we have in-person activities, we have everyone wear a mask and we have people get tested for COVID, or they show us a vaccination card. So we do that. If we're going to meet in person, we put those sort of requirements in place. That may change in the next 6 months. It may be that some of those precautions are different. It may be that they're less strict or more strict. That could definitely change. But if we do in-person activities, we will try to follow whatever the most up-to-date health and safety guidelines are, and we'll communicate with everybody, make sure that people are comfortable with those. And if they're not able to be there in person because of that, if they have to quarantine or they're just not comfortable, then we will figure out a solution for that as well.
What type of in-person activities?
Well, we don't have them planned right now for the program because it's all online. But after, once there may be a point where we bring people together, or we bring a group in a different region of the state together and say, hey, you all live near each other. Why don't we do some sort of meetup? Those sorts of activities could happen, but we're not. The core of this program is online so that we can do it statewide. So we're doing that. But there is a possibility that we could do that. And if we did do that, that's what we would do. All right. I'm not seeing any other questions, but if you want to hang out and ask a question, feel free. We'll hang out for the next 12 minutes if you want to. But otherwise, folks, if you feel like you've gotten all your questions answered, you feel free to log off. Again, that website address, nashville.org/RAD for Rural Artist Development. The other thing, though, I do want to invite everyone to do, if you know another artist or multiple artists who you think would be interested in this also, you can nominate them, you can submit their names to us, and we will reach out to them as well. Even if you feel like this isn't for you, maybe this isn't the right time for you, but you know someone who would be interested, please let us know. We worked with the Tennessee Arts Commission to put together a list of artists to reach out to, but there's a lot of artists that we haven't been connected with yet. So please also think about doing that as well. All right. Well, thank you all again. Thank you for being here. You have our contact info. We're going to send you out the recording of this. We'll send you out the slides. And then if you have questions, you contact us and we'll try to help.
Jonathan, thank you so much for hosting this tonight. Really appreciate that.
We were glad to do it. And Krishna, thank you so much for the Tennessee Arts Commission's support and dedication for helping artists throughout the state, especially in rural communities that are all throughout the state. The majority of the state is smaller communities, and I think that we want to be able to reach everybody in every part of the state. So thank you for that as well, and thank you for leading the introductions. It was great to get to learn more about everybody's work.
I'll check out the recording, but I'm wondering, when you said that this could be forwarded to other artists, do they need to be members of the Arts Business Council? Are there prerequisites for that?
No, I mean, they have to be in Tennessee, and so that's a big part of that. But they don't have to be a member of our organization or anything like that. There's no prerequisite in terms of that. They just need to be a working artist living in a rural county in Tennessee.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Great question.
Guessing that on the application, I can see what is identified as rural county.
You can just, if you want to nominate them, you can submit their information to us, and we'll make sure they qualify. You don't have to do all that research. That'd be a lot.
Thanks.